Running is all about numbers. After all, it is an objective, data-driven sport. From PRs to mileage to workout splits to paces to counting laps around a track, the numbers are constant. Now, obviously, many of these numbers in the sport of running are required and necessary. If you're training for something specific, focusing on these numbers is essential in order to perform optimally and to kind of create a training plan that works for you. Despite that, I do think it's really important to find a balance where you're not really tying your worth or your identity to any of these numbers. As distance runners, we love to pay attention to detail, and these numbers make it so easy to do so. Whether it's running around the parking lot to close out a perfect 50-mile week, or only being happy with a workout when the workout splits were perfect. We love to pay attention to that fine detail because it makes us feel accomplished and it makes us feel satisfied as well. But at what point does focusing on these numbers become an unhealthy obsession? And if it does become an unhealthy obsession, how do we combat that? And then how do we prevent it from happening? I really wanted to create this video and talk about this topic because I personally have tied my worth to the numbers in running for way too long. And although there has been some improvement, I still found myself obsessing every now and then. Back in college, I was so obsessed with running high mileage. It's just like the one thing that I felt like I had a grasp on. When everything else wasn't really going as planned, high mileage is the one thing, that I had and I always had. And it's something that made me feel accomplished and satisfied, and it was something that I could control. High mileage was the one thing that defined me in the sport, and I felt separating me from other runners. So despite not running well my last 2 years in college, I thought, at least I had the highest mileage on the team, or at least I can run 80 miles a week. Mileage ended up being the only thing that I held on to in the sport. I completely forgot about all the other reasons to run, and I was running only solely for mileage. It's the only thing that made me feel worthy and made me feel like I had a spot on the team. After 2 years, low ferritin levels, poor performances, and ending my college career, I finally decided it was time to chill out. Ever since I graduated college, I have relearned to run for the right reasons, to run for my sanity, for my enjoyment. And as I started training for races again, I learned to run to train and run to perform. I've relearned that my purpose is no longer lying in a number that I can hit at the end of every week. And now I'm actually really curious to start running high mileage again. Not because I want to hit a number, but because I want to run to my fullest potential and to perform optimally. So I'm excited to explore that and see where my limits are. That being said, I want to talk about some of the methods that I use to kind of bring me back down to earth when I find myself obsessing too much over the numbers within this sport. One thing other than mileage that I find super easy to obsess over is pace. Even down to when I'm doing a workout and I see that I don't hit a pace right on, I'll start to panic and then ruin the rest of the entire workout for myself. It's also super easy to obsess too much over pace on an easy run, a recovery run, or a maintenance run. Those runs where feeling is literally the most important part and the pace doesn't really matter. So one thing that I started to do on a lot of my easy runs is turn off the lap alerts on my Garmin. So usually I get alerted every mile what each mile split was, but I found out how to turn it completely off so that I'm never being alerted during my run with how fast I'm running. And I always make sure that my watch face is only showing the distance, how far I'm running, so whenever I do tend to peek down at it, I'm only knowing the distance and I'm never knowing my pace. For some reason, when the numbers aren't being thrown in my face every 7 or 8 minutes, I can just take my mind away and just relax and enjoy my run. And although some days I'll wonder forever what my mile splits were that day, an average pace for me is just enough and it leaves me feeling super refreshed. Kind of similar to that, I know watch list runs are super valuable. If you know a certain route that you run every day, a certain distance, try running without it completely. A lot of my former teammates try to do at least one watch list run a week to just focus on enjoying the run, focus on recovery, focus on how they are feeling. If there's no pace or numbers in sight, there's nothing really to obsess over, right? Something else you can do is trail run. With all the windy turns, the hills, the tree covers, pace can kind of get lost when you're on the trails. I think there's something super humbling and refreshing about that. When you're running on the trails, you're connecting with nature, you're connecting with your body, you're connecting with new territory potentially. Some of the best parts of running that we seem to forget about when we're only focusing on the numbers. Now, as for workouts, obviously when you're training for something, paying attention to pace is super valuable and super important. But there is something to be said for those effort-based workouts like hills and sometimes even fartleks. You can set your watch on time only, so you never know the pace until at least after the workout, and you might surprise yourself. You might find that when you're not obsessing over it, you run faster and have a better and more enjoyable workout. So if you want to go out on a limb and kind of loosen your grip on the numbers in the sport, I think training for a new distance is a unique, fun, and awesome way to do so. For me, whenever I'm training for a new distance, I don't really have any expectations, so I kind of turn into that little kid that fell in love with the sport in the first place. I'm a little bit naive, and I kind of just go out and run because I don't really know any different. There are no numbers to compare it to, so you can kind of just go refresh and have a clear mind and just see what your body can do. Last thing I think you can do to help separate yourself from the numbers is by focusing on non-numerical goals. So for example, maybe you want to make the effort to stretch after your runs this week, or maybe you want to incorporate some new hills or try out a new route. Maybe you want to hit up a friend to run with that you haven't seen in forever. Goals like that are non-numerical are still awesome ways to make you feel accomplished, make you feel productive, satisfied with your training and with yourself, and then also just to improve your overall well-being. If you find yourself getting caught up a little bit too much in the numbers and finding that it's causing you anxiety and getting a little bit too obsessed, just try to channel back to why you started running in the first place. I know that sounds kind of cliche, like, oh, remember your why, but it really is so important sometimes to kind of just separate yourself from all the logistics and the data and just enjoy the sport and why you fell in love with it in the first place. So for me, lately, I've just been telling myself, Anna, run because you can, because there might become a day in the future when you're not able to run and you wish you would be able to. So run for that and run for all those times that you couldn't run in the past. Or find just a reason that keeps you going and lights your soul on fire that has nothing to do with numbers or data or PRs or mileage. Find a reason that keeps you going and gets you out the door simply for the love and the enjoyment of the sport. I just wanted to say one more thing. If you find yourself stressing about the numbers in the sport and it's causing you a lot of anxiety, I want you to keep in mind that no matter what your mileage is, no matter how your race went, no matter what your PRs are, no matter what happened on the workout on Tuesday, that you are loved regardless of any of that. And at the end of the day, those around you want you to be happy and want you to have a healthy relationship with the sport. So just to keep that in mind next time you're stressing about it, or next time you feel shitty about yourself because you didn't hit a certain number or you didn't get that PR or something like that. You are loved no matter what, and what matters most is your happiness and your health. All right, so if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any other tips that help you kind of get through those times when you're focusing a little bit too much on the numbers, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I would love to know. And if you like this video, please click that like button and subscribe to my channel. I would love that. I will see you in my next video, but until then, happy running.